Good evening, everyone. We were just in executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the MTA. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body.
For teaching assistants?
For teaching assistants, thank you. And, but firstly, before we officially open up, I'd like to welcome our newest member, Tim Knight. Hello.
Hi, Tim.
Hi.
Hi. Do you want to just say a couple of words?
Sure. I said to you folks, thank you for the honor to serve. I said before, it's something I'm really excited about, excited to join the team and learn and lead along the way. But,
Super, thank you.
excited to
I've
join.
enjoyed working with you on the SEL task force, so I'm thrilled and grateful that you are serving, so thank you.
Yeah, and I'm staying there too.
Yeah, good.
It's
Well done.
important.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
And Megan is no longer interim, so welcome, bona fide.
Thank you.
Member.
Landslide victory.
Super. Do we have any public input? No. All right, thank you. And before we approve the minutes, I would just like to ask for a nomination, since Chris Morrison is no longer here. The spot for recording secretary is now open. Do we have any nominations?
I would like to nominate Megan Glenn, Madam Chair.
Super. Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Super duper.
All right. Well, with that, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes as written for Monday, February 11th, 2019.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. And we will table the March 11th.
Correct.
Minutes. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. New business, High School Student Advisory Council. Hello, guys. First up, Carrie.
Hi, my name is Carrie White, and I'm the representative for the class of 2022. It is so hard to believe that we are coming up on our final term of freshman year. Not too much since the last meeting, but student government is finalizing the order form and last details for our Hype Socks fundraiser, and we will hopefully start selling by next week. We have been in touch with someone from the company, and it's been a very easy process, so we're excited to finally start fundraising. The freshmen finally got to experience the long-awaited semi. It was a super fun night, a little stressful with lacrosse tryouts right before, but still I've only heard good things from the dance. Like I mentioned, spring sports are starting up, which is very exciting for many of the freshmen. And lastly, I know I can say that we are very excited for April break and finally the warm weather. That's all for the freshman class, and thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
Hello, my name is Eliza Barra, and I'm the representative to the school committee for the class of 2021. The sophomores can't wait for April break. With spring sports starting and term 3 ending, everyone is excited for the warm weather. The sophomore student government is very busy trying to raise enough money for prom. We're still getting class dues, which is really good because people are very slow at turning them in, but on April 6th, this Saturday, from 10 to 11, we're having an Easter egg hunt. There will be candy, prizes, and fun games for all ages. It is $10 a person or $20 for a family of 3 or more. Please spread the word because we want a really big turnout. Thank you for listening.
Eliza, what age do you think would be most appropriate for the Easter egg hunt? Are you looking for families with younger kids? Are you looking for everyone? Is it kind of
Well, what we're doing is it's going to be in the gym. Well, maybe outside if it's warm enough, we're going to see on the day. But
Yeah.
we're just going to have a bunch of eggs out, and we're going to split it up by ages.
Okay.
So like 1 to 3 we'll have in one. No, that's bad. But like we're still trying to figure things out. But from
Right.
3 to 5 we'll have in one area, and then stuff like that. But
And how can families find out about it?
we have flyers, and we're putting them up like all around Medfield.
Okay.
And it's in the, I don't know, it's in like that, what's it called, like the patch for the younger kids?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
If you send a link maybe to the school committee chair email or Dr. Morrison's email, we can kind of network it out, okay?
thank you so much.
Oh, and to Brett, because Mr.
Oh, and to
Poirier,
Brett,
the Medfield TV dude.
who is very happy to help with these things.
We all just went like.
I just didn't know what the semaphore was.
Thanks, Brett.
So good evening, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Campbell Ayer, the rep to the school committee for the class of 2020. Since the last time I was here, being that it is our junior year, the class of 2020 student government has been mostly focusing on prom. We have set up a prom committee, which has definitely helped lighten up the load for the 5 class officers and 2 advisors. Now we have 17 additional people helping us with a lot of those tasks that were fairly tedious. We have also been meeting with the committee every Tuesday after school, and we have made great progress with decorations as well as plans for our ticket sales. At the moment, tickets are going on sale on April 22nd and will end on May 1st. For reference, the prom is on May 10th, so there's about 9 days for us to finish the seating plans. So that will be a little bit stressful when that comes around, but we'll handle it. And at the moment, we still have not decided on a price, but that will be determined soon. And juniors have started spring sports, and the first games will be played this week for many. Many juniors have also received their SAT scores from March, and many are beginning to prepare for the SAT and ACT in May. Although this year has been stressful for many, luckily a lot of the stresses like the SAT and AP courses are beginning to come to an end, and it's also nice that course selections have mostly been turned in. And we will soon be able to look forward to the perks of junior year, like prom and all those great end-of-the-year activities. So, thank you for
Super.
Thank
You
you.
guys have been really busy with the putting for patients, the sticky notes. What do you call those sticky notes again that I love so much?
It was the collaboration with Hammond. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna let Peter and Maddie talk about it, but since they're not here, that was the kindness. We worked with Harmony to put like a lot of compliments on the stickers. We've done it for I don't know how long now, but it's been
At
a
least
few
4
years.
years,
Yeah,
'cause
at least since I've
Francis
been
is-
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the compliments, and then putting for patients had a great turnout. I know we
Good.
exceeded our goal for that,
Yeah.
which is a great cause.
You guys
so
did a great job
Thank
of
you, yeah, it was-
publicizing that. Truly, I mean,
it's
I have to
definitely
say.
one. I personally my favorite one every year, but it was definitely really successful this year. Other than that, semi like Carrie mentioned,
Yeah.
it was. I went because of student council. I think personally is my favorite one that I've been to. Just I think DJ wise and kind of the excitement there was usually better than most years, so that was good to see.
Cute.
Great.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Campbell.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty. So the high school April 2020 trip to Italy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as you know, our high school has gone this is the second time now to Italy. And now they're trying to get ahead of it and do some planning. So they wanted to get this approval prior to doing some of the planning. So in your packet, you had a letter from Mr. Parga asking for approval, and I ask that you approve as well.
Do we have a motion to approve the April 2020 trip to Italy?
I motion to approve the trip
Do we have a
as
second?
written.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. These
It's-
trips are so
I was
great.
gonna say, it's really a unique opportunity too, because it is with the Latin department and art department, so it's really an
And the
awesome
kids
experience
taking
for kids.
online Italian.
Right.
Yeah, so no, it's great,
It's really great.
interdisciplinary, yeah. And I'm
Thank you.
grateful to the teachers, because they use their own holiday for
They
these
do.
trips.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
this is well appreciated. All right, the Madeline Grant Scholarship.
So in your packet, you have, I asked you, as we do each time, in order for the town to release these funds to our former students that got these scholarships, it has to be approved by the school committee. So in the packet, you have Matt McGlon's information, going to Harvard right now, doing well, and he's
Yeah.
a 2018 graduate. Hopefully,
really well.
you will approve it so we can release that money to Matt and his family. ask you to approve
I move to approve to release the money for the Madeline Grant scholarships. He's doing exceptionally well. Should be very proud of himself.
that.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful, he gets his money. The FY20 budget mailer.
So that was something that we usually put on the agenda at this time of year. I know that we're working on, Michael is working on getting the numbers, and we're putting that together again, so we'll do the same thing that we've done in the past. I think the conversation we probably should have is whether or not you want to do it electronically or do it as a bulk mailing as we've done in the past. I know at one point we talked about doing it as an electronic email and having it available for folks that don't have the school email. But I think we tabled that last year because of the override, wanted to make sure everyone had the information. You know, my own personal opinion, I think we should mail it again.
I think so, too.
I feel like,
Agree.
yeah, I just feel like that we don't want to miss people. And
Right.
And if we at least mail it to everyone's home address, they'll have an opportunity to look at it. And if we just do email, we're bound to miss somebody.
Right.
You know?
And, I mean, we get so very many emails at this point, not just from the school, but from everywhere. It's very easy to overlook.
Mhm.
Something you can put in your hand. It's important.
So does that make sense? We'll plan on doing it the
Please.
same
Yeah.
way?
Yeah.
Okay.
When does it go? When do you send it?
Typically goes out, town meeting's on the 29th, so our goal is usually to get it out during vacation week, or it's kind of early vacation this year, so probably the week after that, so that folks have at least 4 or 5 days prior to town meeting to look at it. But we have to coordinate that with the post office, and they want things a certain way, so once we coordinate with them, they'll let us know when they'll receive it, and then they'll get it out to everyone.
Great. So the school committee agenda, year view. So I had talked to Dr. Marston about this after we attended the MASC conference. I went to one of the sessions, and they talked about just different ways of organizing school committee, and what struck me was I love the concept of just a year's view, just so we can look ahead, plan ahead, and I think we're going to discuss a little later in future agenda items. At our last meeting will be a workshop, and so we'll use this really as a template, as part of the template for our workshop, and hopefully it'll be a good way to manage our year.
So if you have any questions or any additions or deletions on this, Anna Mae and I got together and worked through this, but we could have easily forgotten something, so
Oh,
please,
yeah.
please take a look at it, and, but as she said, it'd be the framework for some of our discussions on, is it the 17th? I think it's 17th of June.
Yes.
But anything that you want to add or delete on this, it's just a
Or
roll.
rearrange, we'll discuss, yeah.
Right,
Right.
it's a draft.
Is this something you do every year, or is this the first time?
Yeah.
It's the first time
Okay.
through, yeah.
I think we're not reinventing the wheel, and that
Right.
this is kind of generally the flow, as far as I've seen in the last couple of years of how it goes. But to actually be able to have a written framework to make sure that we're covering all of those things, I think is a great move, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, just, I think the only thing you want is the fluidity, right? So it's not so structured that you can't.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
exactly, yeah,
And touchstones.
yeah.
and everything. And making sure that we get through to things like, you know, R&D presentations and things that we know we need to get through and we really want to see. Other things always come up, but it's important to be able to kind of see the flow through. I think it's a good thing. Thank you, Anna Mae.
Other items since posting on March 20th?
I had none, Madam Chair.
All right, great. Old business, FY20 budget. We need a revote.
So we'll just. have these.
Thank you. Need to pass it.
Thank you.
So as you know, last week, the warrant committee approved our budget number at a 3.99 increase. And they had asked us to cut another additional $85,000 out of our budget to get to that number. So remember, our target all along was 4%. This gets us a smidgen below our target, but gets us where our target was. So that 85,000, we had to get it somewhere. So the original cuts that we had made, we had a late retirement, which we were going to have savings on. We had a teacher request an additional 1-year leave of maternity leave, which we'll save money on. We cut $30,000 out of school security because we had additional money in the override this year to get some of the things that what we needed. And then the warrant committee asked for that additional $85,000. So in order to do that, what we've decided to do, and this is what I want to propose this evening, last week we put a freeze on the FY19 budget. So allowing us to just spend on essentials like payroll, utilities, those kinds of things. So focusing all of our money on that, which will allow us to accrue some savings into FY19 and get to that $85,000 in savings out of FY19. And then we would cut $85,000 out of the FY20 special education tuition account. And then we would use money that we saved in FY19 to pay for special education tuition over the summer, which we're allowed to do by law. We're allowed to prepay that out of the previous year's budget. So that was a way of us able to still keep what we need to do in FY20 in terms of those positions that we've added, special education, et cetera, and to dial back on FY19 spending to save and then purchase that money. So that's how we got to the 3.99. So that the amended budget is $36,471,424, which is an overall increase of 1.4 million total. So I would ask that the committee vote that new number, so now it's an officially the school committee's number. Because right now it's the warrant committee's number, but I think we were all at the meeting last week and we support the number that they approved, so.
Right, and we've done this in the past.
We have.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I make a motion to approve a budget for the fiscal year 2020 at $36,471,424.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So, I think that puts us in good shape.
Right. It's it's not painless, but it is the most practical painless way that we can do it and still come within the town's numbers.
Right.
And do our best to be as responsible with our town's money as we can be at this point.
As we talked about, no one on this committee or anywhere else wanted to have an override this year.
No.
We did not want to do that. And, we worked well with the warrant committee to get that number down, and I think it's going to work out for everyone. So thank you.
Right. Great. Town of Medfield budget policy?
So I have nothing new on that. I know that's something that we put on the last couple of times, but there's been really no new information on that from the town side.
Okay. And now we've got the Medfield 2020 update.
Could we go to the very end and we could do that at the end? Would that work?
Sure.
Just so that I could just.
Okay, so
go
we'll
through
skip
some of
that.
the-
Okay, Dale Street project?
So Dale Street project, we had our school building committee meeting last week. And, the main thing for that meeting was to look at the request for services for the OPM, the owner's project manager, to get that going. And then that particular person gets us into the schematic design as well. So that's what all the money was, which was the $1 million last year.
Given to the capital stabilization
Right,
fund.
that was for that particular project. So that's where we are. The school, and again, I'm not a voting member, Michael's not a voting member. It's the permanent building committee, and Leo's as a voting member, but he wasn't able to make it. He was actually doing the Wheelock principal interviews at the same time because everything's kind of overlapping. So they voted to move forward with that. It's been posted in the Central Register. Michael did that. And then it will be advertised the following week. And then the week of April 24th, we'll start interviewing prospective OPMs. So that is a process in which the school building committee takes about 4 hours or so and interviews 4, 5, 6 OPMs and then makes a recommendation. It's all based on a point system that's established by MSBA. It's a very strict protocol. We had to send our OPS to them for them to approve. They gave us some feedback. We made some changes, and then it's a done deal. So now we're just, once that's posted now, Michael did that, and we'll wait till the end of the month when we start doing some of the interviews and move that project forward. I can't say enough how great it is to have Tim on that
Yeah,
committee.
without a doubt.
And also Mike Quinlan, who was chairing it, who works with Tim. Having those gentlemen that do this work all the time is just so helpful for us. So it's helpful for the town and also helpful for us. So I can't thank them enough for their work.
Super. Alrighty.
The acronyms OPM and OPS.
I know.
Owner's project manager.
Owner's project manager, and then RPS, request proposal for services.
Okay.
I know, it's daunting.
I know. Education is one big acronym.
How about future enrollment?
So nothing new on that.
All right.
We're in good shape with that so far. Nothing really, no changes. I think we'll probably have some later in the spring, but really nothing.
All right.
And then bus fees, we don't have any other information, but I know we wanted to keep that on the agenda, so
Yep.
if you wanted to
Yeah.
talk about that at all, but I know that was gonna be an agenda item that we're gonna keep.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it on.
Yeah.
and
Because it looks like nothing's gonna happen for FY '20 anyway, right?
No.
It's gonna be
No.
something that we're gonna keep on and keep revisiting.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll
okay.
be on the workshop
Part of
list.
the, right.
Yeah.
As a goal for next year.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, donations?
And donations, so we had a couple of donations. Let me just pull those up. I asked you to approve the following donations. Blake Middle School, $940 from the Medfield K-8 PTO deposited into the Blake gift account for outdoor classroom storage. Medfield High School, $500 from Anton Cleaners deposited into the Medfield High School gift account for the purchase of library books. This donation was in recognition of Medfield High School placing second for collecting an impressive number of winter coats for donations. So that's really great. Great for
Yeah.
our kids to do that. I know they worked hard on that, and nice to get some recognition and some financial support from Anton Cleaners on that. So I ask that you approve those, please.
Motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve, can I say all the donations, or do I have to?
You can say both.
Both of the donations, yes. The 940?
I second. Oh, Tim can second.
All right.
All in
Tim.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Superb.
Can you
So
tell
the-
me about, 1 second.
Oh, sure.
Can you tell me about outdoor classroom storage? What's
Oh, yeah.
what is the actual mechanism? Is it, like, what are,
A shed, I believe.
is it a
Yeah.
shed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to know.
It sounds much better to have outdoor.
It does
storage.
sound fantastic.
I think Dr.
I just wanted a little clarification.
Sure, that's all it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
all it is.
Thanks for the shed, PTO.
Check.
Yeah, thank you, PTO.
Very important. I'd like one myself.
Fantastic.
Man
All right,
cave.
So the
back
Medfield
to-
2021, it's just a really short PowerPoint on just goal number 2. So we have a schedule for the May meeting, goal 3, and then the June meetings, 4 and 5 together. And again, these were, the first one we did last time, goal 1, has the most in 1920. So that's the largest amount of goals that we're working on. And this isn't everything from Medfield 2021, it's just what we're focusing on this year and some of the things we've done. So let me just grab that. Is it up? It's up already. So the first thing that we looked at, developing social and emotional supports for students and staff, and then looking at social competency and bullying prevention programs at both the elementary and secondary. So those were some areas that were ongoing, but things that we're focusing on. So one of the things that, and you remember when Missy was here earlier in the year, that added the Choose to Be Nice Curriculum Memorial, which is something that has really taken off. The teachers are really excited about it, kids are excited about it. Every month's a different thing that they're working on, so that's been real positive there. Open Circle, at Wheelock is something that they're doing. Also at Memorial, Open Circle is a social competency program from Wellesley College. It's probably been identified as one of the best out there, Open Circle. It was being done before I got here, and it certainly is a great program for all kids. Many of you were at the Jessica Menahan presentation, Medfield Talks, that was during the day. But she also did some training with our elementary teachers later that day, and every teacher got a copy of the Behavior Code book, which really works well in terms of prevention and solutions that teachers could use to work with kids, and really getting to the root cause of what some of the issues are that they may encounter. So next year we're looking at having Jessica continue her work with elementary school teachers, and then doing that initial, like she did with elementary, for secondary folks next year. I think that's something, if you've read any of Jessica's stuff or spent any of her presentations, it's a good message for everyone to hear, not just elementary folks. So I think that's where our focus will be next year on some of our professional development time.
Good.
I think that the teachers have done a great job with grants from MCPE to support the mindfulness, library games, all these kinds of things that help kids connect in school and able to relax and self-regulate as they go through the school day. So that's been really an important piece. And again, the R&D stuff that you saw last year, mindfulness was also a part of that as well. So that continues. Looking at the understanding of diversity, empathy, mindfulness, the guidance in OT lessons have been going through a lot of the elementary schools right now, whether it's once a week or a couple times a term. Those lessons are happening in the classroom, so that's been really, really positive. That Franklin, our dog, our wonderful needs dog that we have at Wheelock, who's a superstar. I mean, the service dog is really something I'd love to have in all 5 of our schools, so we need to work toward that. But I think it's been excellent at Wheelock. Again, the school guidance counselors and school psychologists going into the classrooms many times a year, and that's a real, something that's happening at Dale an awful lot. We're really proud about that. I work with our new director of student services. You know, Mary has a wealth of information and experience working with teachers and students, and she's been a wealth of information for us. Project Happiness at Blake Middle School, and then looking at the high school and secondary, the bullying practices are reviewed annually by the administration and the students in the handbook committee. And then Project Teamwork is something at the high school that they meet every week and talk about kids that need supports and that may be in trouble for different reasons, whether it's situations at home or just some social issues that may be happening at school, and they work to support those kids. So that's been an excellent program that our teachers do a wonderful job with each week at the high school. So looking at health and wellness of staff, you know, that's something that SEL has worked really well on and come up with some great ideas. So SEL Task Force, they did some surveys of teachers and got a sense of what they would look for in terms of wellness, and they actually did a study on emails, on how many emails they get either from colleagues, administration, or parents on a course of a day. So one of the things I think we'll be looking at in that regard is trying to pilot something where we could set some limits, like for instance, teachers don't respond to emails past 6 o'clock unless it's an emergency. Things like that when I was teaching many years ago, we didn't have to deal with all the email stuff because it was a note in the box, it was a phone call to a parent. It wasn't 24/7 like it is now, and that begins to take its toll. So looking at ways that we could structure that and maybe pilot something next year to make folks aware of that. The number one request that we got out of those surveys was yoga. So we've had 2 different sessions when we partnered with Medfield Yoga, and it's been very well received. Participation anywhere from 8 to 12 teachers. We had a secondary session and an elementary session, one at Memorial and one at Blake. So that's been positive for the folks that did it. They loved it. Part of our insurance from the town, Maya, they offer some wellness for employees. So every month there's something new that comes out with that. So it could be something with cooking, it could be nutrition. Lots of times it's a class, exercise class that happens over at the center. But those are all offered to our teachers too. Some take advantage, some don't. The employee assistance program is something that we have. So if we have someone that we feel is in crisis or struggling with something, we have a program for employee assistance through Maya, which they can use to get support, get any help they need, whether it's mental health or physical health or emotional health. So we have that program in place. If folks live in Medfield, they can utilize Interface, which began last year. Unfortunately, I've talked to Interface a couple of times. They won't stretch it to employees of the town. They just residents only. But I mean,
Do
it
they
could be
have that as an option?
I know it could be workable, but that's kind of their model right now, and they're sticking to it.
Right.
The good thing is probably a lot of our employees live in a town that has Interface because so many around here have it. But again, keeping the word out there so that folks know about it is important. Contract language, so in the last contract, we did something with the union that we thought was important, allowing teachers to take half sick days and half personal days, and that really, it was never an option for them. And this allows them, it's a lot of work when you're a teacher and you're out. It's a lot of work. So you have to plan for what your kids are going to have while you're not there, and it takes a lot of time. And depending on the substitute situation, it may be a situation where there will be one teacher in multiple classrooms in a large area, depending on the age of the kids. So teachers don't want to be out a full day if they don't have to be. So we thought that was an important piece to make sure that was in the contract, and that certainly helps their wellness in terms of how they feel. And then on-site daycare, that's full this year and it's full again next year. We'd love to expand that if we had more room. But as you know, for the maternity leaves you've seen the last few years, there's no shortage of staff babies in Medfield. So that's been really positive for them. It's, you know, the feedback that teachers have given me is just, it's great to go down and see their kids at lunch if they can, and then just to be able to pick them up right after school is just great, and they know that they're right close to them. So we'd like to expand that if we had more room. but we're kind of tight for space here. But that's, a lot of good stuff happening, and certainly we can do more, but we're going in the right direction. Yeah, Tim?
You mentioned the email.
Yeah.
Which was not bulleted, but did anything come out, just managing kids in the digital age and how they manage it as well?
How the kids manage it?
No, how they manage kids.
Oh, how they
and,
manage
you know,
kids.
I mean, when you're talking about.
I know.
Other areas of.
So one of the things, especially you see it at the high school, is the digital age piece around Google Classroom, so that sometimes if kids are working on a project or if they're working on a paper, we have a lot of teachers that give that instant feedback at 7, 8 o'clock at night because they can log on and do that. Again, it goes to that piece where the job never ends now.
Yeah,
That you're always available and it never ends. And, we just want to make sure that we love the way that they're being supported and kids are being supported and teachers are doing that, but we just worry about burnout in a situation like that where it's, it's a hard job, and when it doesn't end until you go to bed, that's a long time. So I think that's something that's changed in terms of working with kids, that whether it's an email or if it's Google Classroom, they're just always on the go.
I would just say, the comment I heard from teachers was, they felt there was an expectation to respond within an hour.
Right.
On an email.
Right.
And I thought, coming from the private sector, I thought that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
It is crazy.
When are they going to be away?
Right.
So, and I had never even thought of that with Google Classroom.
Right.
It's a nice to have if the kid's getting immediate feedback.
Yeah, we
But
try to tell
they-
everybody, that 24 hours is the rule. When you get an email, is to respond in 24 hours. And if you can, things come up. I mean, sometimes the email box is full, but, part of it is we need to do a better job of educating parents that if I'm working with your kids, I can't be doing emails. So I might be able to do it at lunchtime if I have time, or I might be able to do it if I have a prep time. But if I'm working with your kids, I'm not going to be answering emails. And I've got a lot of feedback from teachers on that sometimes is unreasonable expectation that they get back to them right away, and it just can't happen, But I think within 24 hours is fair. If it's something that's an emergency, obviously before that, but we've always tried to use that 24-hour rule. But I remember that meeting, Tim, when they were talking about that there was an expectation in their mind that it was an hour, and it's just not realistic,
So in terms of, when I think of wellness as well, I think about the voice and being able to express your voice so where are the outlets for teachers to, not to express a grievance, so to say, and then they have to go to the union, but just
Right.
kind of just expressing themselves when they feel they have something to say, where would they go?
So I would say that, every building, especially elementary, has the grade level leaders that meet with the principals on a regular basis. And the cluster leaders meet at the middle school, the department heads meet at the high school. I meet with a faculty advisory every month, and it's, they're not shy about bringing up issues that they want to talk about, and we have that conversation. But I think there's, outside of what you just said, the union, outside of that, there's many opportunities. And then, Bonnie and I meet every month, and if there's something comes up, we're talking about it all the time. So I think there's plenty of opportunity for people to share that, one of the things, and we've talked about this, my first summer, I think I met with 125 people or something, just kind of doing that entry plan intake. And I think I'm going to start bringing that back and offer it. My second year, I offered it, and one person showed up. And then the third year, no one showed up. But I think it's time to revisit that, and just, it's always nice to have those conversations when everyone's not in a frantic pace. It's
Right.
more relaxed, and you get some really good feedback. So we're going to do that this year. Principals do that too. They sit down and meet with folks. So I think what tends to happen is once school is out, everyone wants to go. And then people start to trickle back in late July, early August, and want to talk about some things. So,
Okay, good,
but yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
good, thank you.
Current workload structures, testing schedules, homework, school schedules, this is something that we continue to work on. This is really going to be an ongoing thing for the next few years. SEL Task Force obviously has talked a lot about that and is working on looking at school schedules. We've made some changes this year or for next year already in the schedule, looking at school start times, which is going to be something that we have to have some real important, serious, thoughtful conversations around because it has a lot of impact across the board. As I said to the teachers on the first day, if we're going to be a organization that looks at research, we can't ignore this research. it's, you know, it's staring right in the face of us of what, you know, what the research is telling us in terms of kids and what they need to do with sleep and how much sleep they need and all of that. So I think once we, at the end of the month, when we share some of the data that we get from Challenge Success and our high school students, you'll see that our kids don't measure up in terms of how much sleep they have. They just don't. And I think that's another data point for us to look at as we move toward looking at start time changes.
Is there any general feedback from the teachers around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that, you know, it's a change in working conditions, so it's something that we'd have to have a conversation about. I think we'd have to, like when we extended the day at the elementary school, it's a negotiation. So I know that there's been some survey feedback on that, and we need to kind of work that out, you know, and work through it. I don't think everyone's jumping for joy on that. There's lots of, it's different, there's lots of impacts, but I think we can work through those if we, you know, get to that point. But it's not going to be something where, you know, we sit here at one meeting and vote on it, and then we're just going to do it. There's a lot of thoughtful conversation that goes into that. You know, we're still working, the elementary's doing a great job working on the transitions from school to school. You know, that's, you know, we've talked about this before. It's a hallmark of our community, the way everyone goes through every school, and the fact that kids stay together for 13 years, and the feedback is really great on that. But it's also difficult for kids to make those transitions all the time. And there aren't many districts left that still do it like that, and I think we need to do a better job with that transition. As we say, we're not the Boston Public Schools. There's only 3 elementary schools. We can figure this out and do a better job. And I think, you know, teachers have been doing a good job on trying to make that a better transition for kids. It's always going to be tough for some kids, no matter what. Transitions are tough for some people. And what we need to do is just make it as easy as we can for kids. You know, looking at homework policy, that's something that now we're, as we said before, writing it and implementing is the easy part. Now the evaluation and making sure that we get feedback from kids and teachers and parents and how that's working, that's the important piece. That's what's going to make it stick and help kids out and help teachers out. So we're looking at that now. We're probably going to do that at the beginning of next year to get a sense of what their experience was in the 18-19 school year. Assessment calendar is something that we've been doing at the elementary school, so that when we're doing some of the universal assessments with kids, whether it be with reading or mathematics, is really taking a look at what time of year is best to do this, and then make it consistent among the 3 buildings, so that it's a 2-week window where kids are having, you know, their baseline assessment done in the beginning of the year, so that it's not all over the place. So that when we have conversations around kids and what they need and what supports they need, you're looking at data that is done at similar times in the year, so that you can have those rich conversations around it. It's not, you know, willy-nilly as, well, this assessment was done at Memorial in September, well, this one was done in December at Wheelock. That's not the way it's going to work, and it doesn't. They do a really good job with that. So just putting that out for teachers to see what that assessment calendar looks like, so they can plan for it too, because it does take time. I think that's an important thing. So we started doing that this year, and it's been pretty good. The feedback on site council surveys, so that's every couple of years. The surveys have been going out with site council, and you get some pretty good feedback on that. As with any survey where you have open-ended, you get outliers that just put some things in there that they've been wanting to say for years. But for the most part, you get some really good feedback that the principals work with the site councils on that and share that information. So that's been positive as well. Secondary level, you know, looking at the homework policy again, the Challenge Success work, the SEL task force, the mid-year exam shift, which happened at the high school this year. We've had some really good feedback on that, except for the kids that are upperclassmen that had to take it before that. They wanted that changed when they were younger. Again, that testing calendar, looking at, which is different than the assessment calendar. This is more looking at how can departments and teachers look at a calendar and say, okay, I have a test scheduled for Thursday, let's not have a project due that day too, and that's really hard to do, and the teachers are working at that. It's hard because you don't know, you have 24 kids in your class, you don't know who they have for something else. It's not as clear cut as it looks on the surface. So that's, again, in progress, and I think something that we're working on. the transitions between Blake and Medfield High School, you know, we've heard a lot about that 8th to 9th grade transition and how tough it is for kids. So one of the things that we've been working on, actually today, they just finalized the calendar. We're gonna have our high school guidance folks go over to Blake in the first week in June, and they're gonna, the guidance counselors will meet with every single 8th grader that they have one-on-one prior to them coming to the high school. So instead of just one big room and having a conversation, they're gonna have one-on-one time with their counselor before they leave 8th grade and before they get to the high school. So that's a really good change going forward. We'll evaluate that and see, but really making that connection initially. We'd like to get more than 5 to 10 minutes, but we're making incremental improvements in that area. So I really want to thank the guidance folks and the principals for working hard on that.
So for sure, one-on-one, not these group.
No, it's one-on-one. It's one-on-one, yeah. So what we've done is scheduled each counselor to be 6-hour blocks at Blake. So they're just gonna pull kids out, their kids they're gonna have for guidance, and have a one-on-one meeting with them.
Great.
So,
I'm a
yeah,
big
just make that
proponent,
connection
yeah.
so that, you know, one of the things that we talked about is that what they found in the guidance department is lots of times that first connection they have with a kid is telling them, no, you can't change your schedule. You know, it's not a positive, how you doing, I'm here to
Yeah.
help you. It's like, no, you can't change your schedule that way. So that takes that off the table and makes that initial conversation a positive one and one that they'll look forward to instead of just telling a kid no.
And building that connectedness and
Absolutely.
just, you know, all the, I mean, ideally, you've heard me say it 1,000 times,
Mhm.
it could happen before freshman year with parents,
Mhm.
a one-on-one to just, everybody's welcome, we're all on the same team.
Right,
but
right.
work in
Incremental
progress.
steps.
I know.
Incremental steps.
But
Um,
please.
You know, certainly the work with department chairs is ongoing. I think that's something that both principals take great pride in working with the department chairs and building that culture within the department. The PLC expectations, professional learning communities expectations in Blake Middle School for common planning is something that we're still working on. I think the elementary's done a better job on that just because of the nature of elementary schools and having that common planning time scheduled in their day. Whereas middle and high school, it's much more difficult to get that in there. So Blake has done a good job with that cluster meeting, and they're doing that. We're still working on that part with the high school, and I know that's something is part of their NEASC evaluation that's going to be happening. That's one of their goals, is to try to get the common planning time in, but it's just not as easy at the secondary level that it is for elementary. And then again, just like the elementary, is the site survey, site council survey, excuse me, for Blake Middle School, which is something that they get a lot of data and use that as they go forward.
Do we do that at the high school?
Yes,
Have we?
I believe so. Maybe not.
I just don't recall, but that doesn't.
It's every 2, I see, I've seen the ones from elementary and middle, but I'm not sure we did the high school now you say that.
I don't recall.
Okay.
Is there even a site council at the high school?
There is a site council, there has to be.
Oh, yeah, definitely site council.
But
Yeah.
I don't recall in my 4 years
Yeah.
at the high school.
Well, if there's not, then we'll check into that, because it would be consistent among all 5 schools to do that
Yeah.
if it's not being done. And then just the schedule for the next couple of meetings that we'll do this. So the May 3rd meeting, we'll do goal number 3. And then 4 and 5, remember, goal number 3 is, a lot of it is with special education. So a lot of that is Mary's working on right now as part of our entry plan. And that will happen this spring and a lot next year as she's going through that process. And then 4 and 5, you know, a lot of it, those are shorter than the others, so we'll do those two together on the June 3rd meeting. And that will give you a good sense of what, you know, we've done from this year in terms of that. And then we'll start that cycle all over again next year as we come. So we got to start thinking about planning for after 2021.
Right.
And we should get some plans together in terms of how we're going to do the next strategic plan, so that we don't have a 10-year gap like last time.
Right.
You know, we want to make sure we can go right from one end to the other. And there's going to be parts of this 2021 that are going to be the baseline for the next one. We're going to roll them right in. We're not going to ever be done with SEL and wellness, and all that stuff is going to just keep happening. So,
Should we be looking at that as part of our workshop
Sure.
agenda?
Write that on my list.
There's,
How
it's
how
gonna be a
long,
long meeting.
Yes.
how long, when you did the 2021 plan, how long did it take to actually formulate
So it takes about a year.
in a year?
Yeah, and a lot of that was, you know, looking at the focus groups and doing the um, having the meetings that, after we got the data from the focus groups and the data from the surveys, then getting together as a group and deciding what the priorities were. So that whole process, each one of those took a day, to do, and we did, I think, 7 focus groups.
9.
9, was it 9? So we did a lot and got a lot of information. So if we could talk about that in June and maybe map that out so that when we finish one, we can start the next and just get that process going, so we'll be in good shape.
Right.
That'd be super.
Super. Just back to goal number 2.
Mhm.
In terms of, there was a lot of R&D done in the mindfulness, and so do we have any idea of our teachers using it in their classrooms, and how often, how many?
So I would say the information I have on that is mostly geared toward elementary.
Right.
I've had,
But were they able to use it? Because I know they created documents for each grade and.
right, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And again, part of that is, the conversation we had that night is making sure that the kids get those skills early and carry them up to when they get to middle school, high school. So I think there's a bigger emphasis at this point at the elementary level to do that. But
Do they feel they have time in their schedule?
I'm not going to say they feel like they have a lot of time in the schedule to do it, but they're doing it. Probably not as much as they would like, but I think it's hard. There's just never enough time.
Yeah.
It's just never enough time.
But
We can add a half hour and there's still never enough time.
Yeah.
But put it this way, it's certainly better than it was a couple of years ago when it wasn't happening,
Yeah.
So there's a concerted effort to get it in and to make it a component of, whether it's a component of morning meeting and open circle, those kinds of things, it's happening. But I'm sure not as much as what everyone would like it to be.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Any other questions on goal 2? As I put another cough drop in my mouth? So I can keep talking.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. All right, superintendent's report to the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have only one item to discuss, and I'd like to announce the finalists for the Wheelock principal position. Before I do that, I want to thank the members of the screening committee that worked so hard the last couple of weeks to go through the many, many resumes. We had 33 that originally had started. That went down to 12 that the committee got. Committee got those down to 5 and interviewed 5 candidates, and then pushed 2 forward to me. So first I want to thank Chris Martis, who's our interim director of curriculum, who's chaired the search committee, and we're going to begin the process of doing the second search very soon. I want to thank Leo and Megan as school committee reps. Thank you very much for being a part of that. Mary Brule, Missy Billsborough, Steve Brenham were all the administrators. Erin Watson, Nicole Sheehan, and Tracy Babin were the teachers, and Jamie Callahan. And then parents, Karen Healy, John Kelly, Rebecca St. George, and our community member, former chief Robert Meany. Came back again for another principal search. He's done a zillion of them, but certainly a lot more relaxed this time because he's in retired mode. So I want to thank all of them for volunteering. We did have one other parent that actually had some scheduling issues at the very last minute. Mary Frazier was originally going to be a part of that, but had to bow out. So we have 2 finalists. First one is Holly Caulfield. She is currently a principal in the Dedham Public Schools. I spoke to her superintendent today. She's been a principal in Dedham for 12 years. And then our second finalist is Anna Hurley. Some of you may know Anna as a resident and a parent in Medfield. She's currently a science teacher at Dover Sherburne. Also spoke to her superintendent today. Both are very excited about what's happening with the process going forward. So I will meet with each candidate next week. We'll do a meet and greet, walk around in terms of Wheelock School, and then we'll come back to Town Hall and have a conversation interview for a while. And then at that point, after I have those 2 visits, I'll get feedback from the Wheelock staff. So I'll do another Google Doc with them, have them give me feedback of what they thought of the 2 candidates, take that in consideration, reference check, all of that, do all those those things that we need to do, and then hope to make an appointment by next Wednesday or Thursday. Again, that goal is to have that done by vacation week. So that's where we are, very excited to have two really qualified candidates. I don't know, Megan, if you want to say anything about the search. I mean, you were part of that.
Yeah, it was very, the whole group was very positive, and just the wealth of perspectives that were on that board was really an interesting process. And I would say that of the 5 that we interviewed, all of us were very excited to push those 2 forward, and it was just really an enlightening process. So
Great.
I was happy to be a part of it. It was fun.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. And so we're gonna, Chris and I, this took a little bit longer as far as the process than we thought. So we've let everyone that applied to the Director of Instruction Innovation, let them know that we're establishing a timeline soon. Hang in there. We're not, blowing you off. We're gonna do that. So we're hoping to do that very, very soon and get that going. But I know that Jess and Anna Mae are on that committee, so we'll get the information out to, we do have a group of parents that, because we had so many parents for Wheelock, we did a lottery system, and we have parents now that were applied for that want to do this as well. So we're gonna search them first, and then if we don't get that, then we'll put it out to all the other parents as well.
Because
We wanna
those
get
were just younger.
exactly, so we want to get
Yeah.
parents of middle and high school kids as
Okay,
well.
good.
Yeah,
Thank
we want
you.
to do that.
Did you say that was going to be after the April break, that this will start? Or are you just going to be doing them at the same time?
It's probably the process will probably identify candidates, but I think the actual interviews will have to be after April break,
Okay.
based on our timetable and when Chris works and those kinds of things.
Right.
Yeah. So that's exciting, and, we're looking forward to having a new member of our leadership team on board, and looking forward to the feedback from our teachers after those 2 days next week, in which they get a chance to meet the new people and the candidates and give us some feedback. So that's all I have on it, Madam Chair.
Great. No informational items?
No.
No. All right. Future agenda items? FY20 budget, curriculum director update, school committee meeting documents.
So just the curriculum director piece? So
Yes.
that Chris is gonna come to the next meeting, and he's gonna talk about some of the projects he's been working on this year, and I'm sure talk about the searches, but also some of the curriculum work and in the curriculum schedule that we'll have for next year, and what kind of the work he's been doing on that. So that's what that is. It's not curriculum director search.
Yes.
That's, okay, I just wanna make sure.
Okay, all right. And school committee meeting documents, couple months back, we voted to
Excuse me.
not change the policy, but I think, we're going to revisit that.
Right. I think that's something we're going to revisit and probably talk about also at our workshop
Correct.
meeting,
Yeah,
simply around kind of process, how we can do that, what it looks like.
and how we can get more information
Right.
out effectively, yeah. And the June workshop planning, if you folks have ideas, I know Jess had suggested some ideas about updating the website, maybe getting more information on there. Anything else, you guys can email me, tell me.
Okay.
Can you describe what typically happens?
We've never done it before,
Okay.
so
So
this
what's
is
the,
the
or what's the
first.
expectation in
So,
terms of
but you've
how
run them
long's-
before,
Mhm.
correct, at other
Mhm.
districts?
Yep.
And
Yeah,
I
so
know, Jess, you
basically
brought it
it's-
up, which was great.
I think it's a way that the school committee can take a look at what they like to do the next year, set some goals, talk about some self-evaluation, and do some of that work, but also just identify what's really important that we should be focusing on for the year, so that,
Right.
it's a focused year and goal-driven,
And while it's
versus-
it's an open meeting, but it is not necessarily a kind of a Robert's Rules of, like, there's a,
It's a posted meeting, yeah.
it's a posted
it is.
meeting,
Mhm.
but it's a
posted as
meeting in which
workshop.
we are actually workshopping
Yeah.
what our business will be. So
Yeah.
it's not quite as,
It's not quite as
blue
exciting as our
skirt
regular
and,
meetings.
yes.
Blue skirt.
So,
No
Because I
blue
feel like
skirt.
we go into every meeting and we've got the agenda items
Yeah,
that we
right.
really never come together as a committee to actually
Right.
talk about
right,
where we've come from, where we are, and where we're
Right.
going.
And
I
because
think-
of open meeting laws, we would not do that, and we're not really allowed to speak in more in
Exactly.
groups of two, otherwise we have a quorum. So to be able to have a time in which we can speak, hopefully within a safe space, and be able to throw out ideas and really workshop ideas as a group, I think would be really productive for all of us.
Very, yeah,
So,
agreed.
Super. Super. Alrighty.
Okay.
And our next meeting is the annual town meeting, April 29th. We'll meet in a different room, correct?
Correct.
Right off the cafeteria?
We'll see, you'll see where the warrant committee
Alright.
is. Sometimes they have this and the board of selectmen have this. We gotta figure out where
Okay,
everyone's
so
gonna
TVA.
be. Yeah, I think the last couple of years we've met
So-
in the, over in, by the cafeteria,
Right, yeah, we have.
so.
I think last year,
How
right?
does
Yeah.
that work?
We
So-
meet beforehand?
Yes.
And I think we've done executive session previously. I've only done two. So, I mean, it is an open meeting, you know, it's like a regular meeting, but it's usually one agenda item in general.
Yeah, it's typically
Not-
if something were to come up last minute prior to town meeting that we have to know about.
Okay.
You know, it's typically why it's there.
Yeah.
You know, the warrant committee meets before the board of selectmen, everyone, just in case something they need to
Okay.
plan for.
Right.
So that's,
Because there's no real second shots on town meeting, so.
yeah, sure.
And Tim,
For
right
last year.
now, this is an opportunity for school committee members to just state anything that's on your mind, more or less.
But you don't have to.
No, the only thing on my mind.
No pressure.
Jeff, I'd point to you that the session last week on the digital and mobile devices in the school, I thought was, I don't know, how many were there? Or-
That was a good crowd.
Yeah, no, I meant just here. I thought it was
Iliad?
fascinating.
There were, I
About-
heard someone from MCP say that there, like 100 people had RSVP'd. but
Yeah, there was-
I
there was
don't know
only-
if there was.
There's 130 or so that
Yeah.
RSVP'd. I'm not
Yeah.
sure everyone.
Probably about
Right.
70, 80, 75,
Yeah,
80 I
80,
counted.
yeah.
I just thought it was, I had read her book. I thought it was fascinating to hear
Mhm.
what she had to say. I'm part of that, you know, the mobile committee.
Yeah.
Right.
And listening to her, it just has me revisit.
Mhm.
I mean, that's an evolving world as
Yeah.
to what's going on. And it felt like we collectively have to do a better job of educating parents on that. And, you know, the word they used at some point is a movement.
Right.
And it's just, I thought it was, the parent talks so far, I think we had
Yeah.
two?
Spot on.
They're 2 for
Good,
2
good.
in terms of being just great. And the hard part is
I
getting more
drove
people
home that
there.
night, Tim, thinking I wanted a redo as a parent for my 17 and
Yeah,
17.
you opened it up.
I was gonna
Wow.
say, I was a little depressed leaving.
I wanted a redo.
I was really,
On that
know.
note, though, and I might have told one of you this story, the next morning I purposely didn't go to any device or checked my email, nothing, and was being present with my daughter while we were getting ready for school and packing lunches. And I didn't even have the sound on my phone, but
Yeah.
she must have seen, you know, the blinking, or I don't know, but she goes, Mom, you're getting a lot of texts over here. I said, I'm trying to be present. Have a calm morning. She goes, but I think it's about my ride after dance. You need to check it, you know? And so I was like, oh, yeah. There was like a poll. I was like, all right, is it making you anxious that I don't have your ride set up? 'Cause she didn't, and she
Yes.
wanted nothing to do with, you know, being off it. So we've got a ways to go in the Glenn household. But, and then to touch back with the principal search, that was, like I said, it was a great experience. I'm kind of a nerd like that, though, that likes to dig in, but just the conversations and the give and the take of the committee, it was great. I really enjoyed it. So good luck with your, I wish I could do them both, but good luck. It's your turn now.
You don't get all the fun.
I don't. no.
Speaking of school start times, the MSBA is doing a workshop
yes.
on Saturday in Marlboro, looking at what the experiences of other schools have been. So as we're even thinking about having this conversation, I think it's really important that we keep in touch with other school districts and see what their challenges have been and also what the benefits have been. I mean, I heard some of it at the MSBA conference in November, but it's always interesting to kind of see how people are kind of moving through that process. And I don't know if the rest of you or if any of you have signed up for this, but I will be doing the Day on the Hill,
I did sign up.
which is the legislative kind of networking day on May 1st, which the MSBA and the Mass Superintendents Association also sponsors. So we'll be spending the day on Beacon Hill, talking to our reps and trying to understand certainly how any changes in the foundation budget affect our district, as well as just generally affecting kind of equalized funding throughout the state. So there's also some interesting stuff happening around transportation subcommittees where somebody, we'll see how it goes. But at least people are paying attention at the legislative level, so,
That would be revolutionary.
Here's hoping.
well, yeah, there's a big difference between talk and do.
Well, at least they're talking though.
Yes. So that's where I am right now. Oh, and the master planning committee, which is fascinating, frankly, but a lot of work right now.
Yeah. Thank you, Jess. Thank you. So it's like the frenetic spring has already begun, you know,
Like in
terms
January.
of music concerts. There's another one tomorrow night. Those have been Bandorama and String Fling. All those have happened, which have been wonderful. The fashion show. That is so lovely. And so that was really great. So I have a senior, so it's all bittersweet for me. But I think Dr. Marsden forwarded off a letter that Representative Dooley sent to the chairperson of the Ways and Means Committee. So I just want to, and he supports funding the circuit breaker, so I'm very grateful to that. And I just want to read a quick note that the Medfield Food Cupboard sent to us about the Empty Bowls project. I don't know if any of you guys
I
know
did.
about that.
I made 2 bowls.
Right on. So this was a fundraiser that was initiated from one of the art teachers. And we wanted to take a moment to thank you for Medfield Public Schools' support of the Empty Bowls fundraiser for the Medfield Food Cupboard. It was a truly unique experience that brought all facets of our community together to work collectively on a project that benefited their neighbors in need, students, teachers, families, and residents with no school-age children signed up to create bowls in the MHS Art Studio, and others participated in the collaborative dinner held last Thursday in the Blake Cafeteria. Bringing the Empty Bowls event to Medfield was the brainchild of art teacher Sarah Hager. Both Sarah and Kate Jones put in many hours of their own time to make this event a success. With the help of the students in the Clay Club, they assisted over 14 individuals craft their own bowls and also made extras for sale during the dinner. Mrs. Pollard's Culinary Club contributed by baking all the desserts for the event. And we are thrilled to let you know that Empty Bowls raised close to $2,000 for the food cupboard. The food cupboard is currently supporting over 70 Medfield households, the largest in our history, including 60 children, so the additional funding will make a real impact. Sarah says she's on board next year, and we hope to see your bowls in the lineup next spring. And she included some photos, and this was, with much appreciation, Tracy Rogers and Susan Gorog, the co-presidents of the Medfield Food Cupboard. I just thought
Very
I'd
nice.
share that lovely letter.
And I have to say that just being there, almost every single person was like, how do we get more people here? And this was so much fun. I can't wait to come back. And Sarah was an excellent teacher. She had us
Which is awesome.
better herded than any teen or student that she teaches. I mean, we were all over the place, and she was good at getting us together. But it also speaks to, when I hear about the figure of 60 kids who are served, and the idea that any one of our kids would go home at night and feel a level of food insecurity kills me.
It's a lot of
And
kids.
It is a lot of kids, and it makes me wonder if we should be thinking about programs that can help them over weekends, over school vacations.
Yeah, and they think, yeah, exactly. But, so that was a lovely letter.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I just had a couple things, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Just want to recognize our best buddies and our student athletes who were in the Special Olympics last week. One of the best days of the year, and it was hosted in Holliston this year. So just want to thank them and thank our police department for really making the day special for them with the bus ride and the sirens. It just was phenomenal, so I appreciate that. Also coming up this week on Thursday is our Design Your Learning Day, formerly known as Digital Learning Day. We have over 400 educators coming into town from, I think, I had to double check, I think it's from over 30 different districts now coming in. So our teachers plus so many others. And this started as just a way for teachers in Medfield to share what they're doing with other teachers in Medfield, and now it's really blossomed into something that people look forward to in the area. So really proud of the work that committee did, Neil and Diane and Kerry and Kate. They just did a wonderful job planning this, and I look forward to a great day on Thursday, but also taking the opportunity to recognize them in front of everyone because they just did incredible work. So that's, they don't get paid extra for this. This is what they like to do professionally, and it's just an amazing day for them. So appreciate that. And then lastly, just a reminder that the Challenge Success will be here on the 24th doing a presentation on our student data from the survey. They'll be working with the teachers after school for a couple hours with the data, and then with parents at night. I think it's at 6:30 or 7, I'm not
Yeah.
positive. But I think that's one of the important things about this is, and the reason why Challenge Success comes out and does this, is that it provides the data in context. So it compares Medfield to other Challenge Success schools. So we get compared to Dover, Sherburne, Concord, Carlisle, Wellesley, and all the other Challenge Success schools across the country. So it's important to have that context, and they do a great job. They've met with us already and gone through all the information, but it'll be worth your while if you can make it on the 24th to see that information.
Now, are they working just with all high school teachers?
All high school teachers.
Okay.
Yep, every high school teacher.
Lake as well, or no?
That's gonna be when their data comes back, because their
Gotcha.
data hasn't come back yet.
Right.
They just took it last week, so.
Okay, all right.
So it's a whole separate thing for when Blake does it. We haven't seen any of their information yet. But interesting stuff. I mean, no big surprises at all. But I think the important piece is that, as they said to us, this data out of context is dangerous. So I think it's important that Challenge Success does that presentation, and then people get a sense of what the real data is, and it provides the context.
Compared it, yeah.
So that's all I have, Madam Chair.
All righty, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Super, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you.
The preceding was a production of Medfield TV Community Shows.